How's it going, everyone? Today I wanted to do something a little bit different, a little bit innovative, change the game up. And I wanted to talk about a movie actually that I just finished watching. And it wasn't a big release. I didn't even know about it actually until today. And it's called Eurovision Song Contest, The Story of Fire Saga. This is a movie with Will Ferrell in it. He's pretty much the Demi Lovato, just some pretty well-known people. I'm not very versed in the different actors. Of course, Will Ferrell is one of my favorite comedic actors at least, and he was in it. And this one, obviously, it's not that great, you know? It's got its highs and its lows, a little song joke there, a little pitch joke. And while this isn't the greatest movie, I would say it actually surprisingly was better than I had expected going into it. It seems like just some here, there, you know? You might be feeling it, you might not, especially because I don't like typically music-oriented stuff. Some of the stuff felt a little bit like a High School Musical type thing, and that was not my forte, not what I wanted to experience, but it actually played it off pretty well, surprisingly. Some of the stuff seemed a little bit too planned out. You could tell where it was going. It seemed like it was dictated. There weren't any twists and turns that really blew your mind, you know? But it was surprisingly good. It was somewhat repetitive. Some of the things that the different controversies that they ran into had already previously been done somewhat in the show. A little bit predictable. It didn't seem like a ton of brain power. They didn't have Einstein going into it thinking up the best way to go about doing this or the best way to express this thing. But you know, it worked out, and the things that it played to its advantages on, the singing and stuff, was really awesome. There were some really talented singers in there, and I think that they played that together very well. The ending of it was pretty heartwarming. That's a pro, you know, getting a little emotional. It was pretty cool. The classic, a self-reflection, and you're like, nice, changing it up. So that was pretty cool. I don't know what it is with Will Ferrell recently, but I mean, his last movie, he was, I think, British, and then in this one, they're Icelandic. For some reason, that dude loves going to European countries to do what he's doing, so I guess hats off to him. But this certainly isn't an old school. It's certainly not one of his main blow-up pieces, but still, it was pretty good, you know? I respect it. I respect how it went. It's on Netflix, obviously, so probably not the greatest budget ever, but there were a lot of cool scenes. You know, the person that they run into, I forget his name, Alexander something. Yeah, Alexander Limtov. He has this really sweet palace and stuff. Very awesome. Rachel McAdams, I'm not familiar with her previous works, but she was really good in this, really good singing and everything. And I really think that it all came together pretty well. There were a few comedic instances that I thought were pretty funny, you know, some classic Will Ferrell stuff, but there does seem to be a fair bit of filler stuff in between the comedic instances, which seems kind of weird, but it works its way into it pretty well. It's not just like randomly thrown in there. It's just the classic stuff, the classic Will Ferrell stuff, typical goofs, the usual. There were a few throwaway characters. Not necessarily throwaway, but their presence didn't really impact the movie too much. I think that there could have been stronger play-ons to certain characters, and stronger setting for scenes in general, just stronger structure for what is actually happening in the movie. But I mean, sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. Like I said, I didn't even know that this movie was a thing until I literally just looked it up and saw it, or I looked up new movies out now, and this was just one that was recommended. So when you see Will Ferrell in there, you got to give it a check at least, you know. He might have been in some lesser works, but come on. Old school, come on. Also, another con was that there were some controversies that were a little bit trivial. They didn't really play an impactful role in the movie. It's kind of like, well, alright then. It's just kind of like getting hit with a wet fart. You're just like, well, what the fuck was the purpose of that, you know? Why is this here? Why is this happening to me right now? Which, I mean, it's alright. It just seems like it sort of extended the movie longer than it was necessary. Like this movie's 2 hours and 3 minutes. And I mean, some of that seems like it could be cut out. As I said, also, some of it seems kind of High School Musical-ish. You know, you got, like, they're doing some scenes where they're all singing together, and then they're sort of ciphering off of each other. It's like a rap cipher where, except it's hip-hop, it's literally like a High School Musical type thing. But like I said, a lot of the cast are pretty talented singers, so it is cool. And while typically it isn't my genre that I would personally listen to, I think that they did well, and they played to their strength and a lot of the scenes that it is setting up for that. So all in all, it was a pretty decent movie, you know, not reinventing anything, not the greatest thing to ever hit mankind, but it was something to watch, something funny. Maybe get your mind off of what's going on in the world, you know. Everyone needs that from time to time, and Will Ferrell's a pretty good one to do that. So, plugging it in, I think I'm going to give it a nice 65. Not too great. I might be a little more lenient than the average person, but, you know, I like some movies, you know? Sometimes you just gotta go in there with an open mind and let your mind expand and see what's happening. So 65, not the strongest score in the world, but it's pretty good. It's worth seeing, you know? I don't regret having watched it. I don't feel like I lost any brain cells having seen what I saw. And hopefully you will agree, or let me know in the comments if you watched it and what you think. And I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.